Episode 2.
Are you ready to take your eBay business to the top? Well, if so, buckle up and hold on. It's time once again for So You Want to Sell on eBay with your hosts, Ron LeBeau and Ali Young.
Creating an eBay store these days is not that difficult a task. Creating a custom eBay store is. So if you're thinking of starting an eBay business, or even if you're a titanium power seller, let the professional team at AuctionProTemplates.com create a custom eBay store for you.
Welcome once again to another episode of So You Want to Sell on eBay. I'm Ron LeBeau.
And I'm Ali Young.
All right, sellers, let's get started. I am very pleased to introduce our very special guest today, Ben Newman.
Hey, Ben, it's fantastic you could join us today, and it's really great having you here.
Ali, Ron, I am fired up to be with each of you and all of your listeners. I look forward to a great time together.
That's awesome. Ben is a best-selling author, international speaker, and highly regarded performance coach whose clients include Fortune 500 companies, business executives, high-performing salespeople, and athletes in the NFL, PGA, and NCAA. Ben's most recent book, Own Your Success, was ranked by CEO Reed as their number 13 business book of 2012. In addition, the Napoleon Hill Foundation and Nightingale-Conant selected Ben as their top thought leader and author in the world to help them produce their latest audiobook, Napoleon Hill's 17 Principles of Success. I've given our listeners an overview of you, Ben, and I can hear them getting pen and paper together right now to take notes. But before we dive in, let's find out a little bit more about you personally. Our listeners want to know anything and everything you'd like to share about you. And actually, we have a few things in common. We're both from the great gateway to the west, St. Louis, Missouri, and are both Cardinals fans. So take it away, Ben. Tell us about you.
Well, first off, that is correct. We don't want to lose any of your listeners if they're not Cardinals fans. But those that are Cardinals fans, it is a special thing, and it makes you just a fan of sports. And so even if you're not a fan of sports or you are a fan of sports, I'm just a fan of relationships and team building and leadership, and we have that with the Cardinals. You have that in sports. You have it in business, and that's really been the makeup of my life. It's been a culmination of being knocked down personally, being knocked down professionally, and having great teams, being led by others, having the blessing of leading other people, and just really going through life, taking the knockdowns, but having the willingness to get back up. Because I'll tell you, Ron, and I'll tell you, Ali, the biographies that you read, that's just not fair, because it doesn't highlight the tough times, the challenge, the adversity that I've had to fight through in order to have the taste of victory in life.
It's amazing, actually, that you talk about you being knocked down and you're still having that determination to get back up again and just carry on fighting, because a lot of people maybe quit at that point.
Well, and I think that's what really makes a champion. It's the work that you're willing to put in when nobody is watching, right? So if you're looking to grow your brand new business, number one, so you've got something you want to do. You want to sell on eBay. You want to grow your business. It doesn't matter what you've done before. It matters what you believe you can do going forward. What's the hard work that you can put in? What's the strategic planning? What are the ideas that you can implement? And you need to understand that in business, to be successful, you'll get knocked down. So what's your plan when you get knocked down? And whether it's athletes or business owners, we work with those athletes on their ability to reframe. Because the most successful people, they focus on solutions, not problems. When you get knocked down and you're starting your business, plan on reframing, focus on the solutions, focus on the daily behaviors that will drive your success.
Yeah, Ben, and I like what you said about, what you're doing when nobody's looking, right? It's kind of like the saying, work hard enough to get lucky, right? I mean, so when somebody sees you successful, they don't really see what you've done behind the scenes to get successful, all the many hours that you've worked at night to make that happen, and the weekends that you've given up with your family to make that happen. They just see, wow, that guy's successful, and they don't really always understand exactly what you've put in to get to that point.
That's correct. And, a lot of times people don't recognize the teams that it takes in order to build real success. A lot of times people say, my goodness, you write books and you speak and you coach and you have all these things that are going on. But what people don't recognize, it takes a team. It takes a team in order to be able to touch people's lives. I mean, we have Kim on our team, who's been our director of marketing for 4 years. And without Kim, we wouldn't be doing the things we're doing all over the world. And we have marketing firms that we partner with. So it's a team effort in life. And when you get knocked down and you feel like you can't take that next step, that's where it's beneficial to have those team members who can help you, because they'll keep you connected to the mission and the vision of where you're headed together.
So what happens if you don't have that team at the beginning? You know, what happens if you're a sort of sold sort of person and you're out there selling on eBay as an example, and you don't have that team at the beginning?
I think it's a fantastic question, Ali, and it makes me think back to 2004. I was cutting my teeth really in high-level sales with a Fortune 500 company, selling insurance and investments, and, you know, spent a long time in that business. But when I go back to when I started, our managing director had said, you know what, you should get a coach. And I said, a coach? You know, what is a coach? I mean, I had a basketball coach growing up, and, you know, what are you talking about? And he said, you need to get a coach. And he walked me through that process, and my first coach was a guy named Dieter Powles. And I still utilize things he taught me, and Dieter helped me connect on another level. He was a team member. He was just my coach. But he was the team member. So it wasn't staff. When I say team member, it doesn't have to be a $40,000, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 payroll full-time employee, but somebody who's there that you can bounce the tough times off of, because when you try to do it yourself, it becomes very difficult. You have to have that outlet, that person that you can connect with who will help pick you up when you feel like you can't go anymore.
So, Ben, before we start each episode of So You Want to Sell on eBay, we always like to ask our guests to tell them about one person that's made a real difference in their life, someone with such an impact on you, either negative or positive, because from my experience, negative experiences can make you stronger. So, Ben, tell us in great detail about your impact person.
So if everybody can picture this, I just got done boxing. So because our athletes right now are the NFL players we work with, they're in training camp, they're doing 2 a day. So I like to mentally prepare myself when they're going through that. So I just had my second workout of the day, and on my wrist, if everybody could see my wrist, I have a black band, and the black band says Legacy in all capital letters. I wear it every single day. That bracelet is a reminder of my mother and her strength and her courage and her perseverance that she displayed to my brother and I when she battled a rare muscle disease called amyloidosis when I was a young boy. And at the time of my mother's diagnosis, there were 2 hospitals in the United States that were treating the disease, the Mayo Clinic in Boston, or the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota, and the Boston Medical Center. For some reason, my mother chose Boston, and she went to Boston, and a woman named Dr. Martha Skinner told my mom, Janet, you are only the second woman under 40 years old I've ever seen or heard of having this disease, and you have 2 to 4 years to live. Listeners, we are talking about the rarest of the rare. But what was amazing, my mother was divorced from my father when I was 6 months old. What's amazing, it was my mother's mindset, what she chose to focus on, and that was continuing to be a leader of my brother and I, no matter how much pain she went through. So when she would get phone calls from Dr. Skinner saying, you need to come to Boston for painful medical procedures, you'll wear Jope stockings around your legs to control the swelling, you'll have to wear a mask to be able to go outside, my mother would hang up the phone and instantly call her boyfriend and say, Alan, we're taking the boys on a family trip. We're taking them to Chinatown because they like Chinese food. We're taking them bowling because they like candlestick bowling. And what my mother exemplified for all of us at that moment in time when she hung up the phone and picked it back up is what I alluded to earlier. It's where I learned the power to reframe. If my mother was able to lead my brother and I while she was literally fighting away this disease that was eating away at her muscles, then we can pick up the phone and make another phone call. We can fight through those no's that we hear in business, and we can save the tough emotional times for the real tough stuff that we go through. And I'm telling you this, having been knocked down in business and having been knocked down personally, but my mother is the greatest champion of life I've ever known. And amyloidosis on November 2nd, 1986, took my mother's life. But on November 2nd, 1986, my mother took the pen of her life that she was writing her journal with, this journal that she kept that I've written a book about, and she passed that pen on to my brother and I, and it's our opportunity to continue her legacy. So that's why I wear that band around my wrist. It is my why. It is the motivation. It's the inspiration. And my mother's the greatest prize fighter. She's why I fight every single day. And she's the individual who's enabled me to understand that I can now pass on her legacy through my children and the future of our family. And so there's no better example than my mother and the champion of life that she was.
What an incredible story, Ben. And I tell you what, there's no one, I really can tell you, no one's going to trump that impact story, that impact person. It's just an amazing story. And you and your brother have, I know your mom would be proud of you both of you. You know, you've come a long way with all this, and you've taken it up. And I understand, you know, now I understand Continued Fight, your name, you know, and it just kind of all goes together. So I do appreciate you sharing that with us.
I appreciate you listening. I know it's not the easiest stuff on the ears, but I also recognize I'm not the only one with a story. And if being transparent with my story enables people to connect on a deeper level with their story and their purpose, then that's part of continuing my mother's legacy.
Absolutely, Ben. And you know what? There are people listening to you right now that are hearing your story and are thinking, wow, man, if he can do it, I know I can do it. You know, and you know, I know your mom passed away like 11 days before your 8th birthday. Is that correct?
Correct.
So you were such a young man, and you know, you've come a long way, and I know you know that bracelet you wear every day means more than anything that you probably possess. You know, and not just around your wrist, but around your heart as well.
Amen to that, my friend.
So now that we know a little bit more about you, Ben, let's take a look at your journey to and through your business, because our listeners need to know a little bit about you. And obviously you've had great success, but we're going to dig in now. We're going to see how it all happened. So we want to hear of your failures. We want to hear of your successes, because our listeners also need to know that, you know, you've been where they are, and there is good news for them if they're determined. So we all know that success rarely comes before failure. So tell us in great detail, Ben, of a particular failure that happened on your journey that may have had you second guess whether or not you should continue pursuing your business.
You know, I think back to a time in 2010, and I mentioned the importance of coaching, right? So in 2004, I had my first coach, Dieter, and, you know, there were several coaches after that. Now I've had the same coach since late 2009. His name is Dr. Jason Selk. He's an incredible human being. He's had a tremendous impact on my life. And in 2010, I was going through a really challenging period of time. Speaking and writing and coaching was going great. However, I was facing challenges because I was still running my insurance and investment practice as well. I was actually doing both. This was before I sold that practice.
Okay.
And I was having a challenging period of time, and I remember it was like the first 6 months of the year was like incredible. And I remember vividly a conversation I had with my wife. I was like, babe, I'm like, things are amazing right now. They couldn't be going any better. And so I've got like advice for everybody listening. Don't say that. Just keep doing the hard work. Don't pat yourself on the back too hard. And I remember sharing that, and then it was like the next 6 months, it was like I was in a prize fight with Muhammad Ali 24 hours a day. It was no pun intended, Ali. And it was, you know, it was so challenging. I mean, it was like every day, every time I would do something, it felt like I was taking 18 steps backwards. And I remember I was in the parking lot of a little cafe called the St. Louis Bread Company. And I was in that parking lot, and I remember a phone call. I was with Jason Selk on the phone, and I was telling him, I'm frustrated. I don't know what's going on. It was a very victim-y conversation. And here I am. I'm a speaker and a coach. So just because I'm a speaker and a coach doesn't mean that I don't experience challenge. Of course I do. It's part of all of our stories. Growing every day, learning every day. It's fighting through the challenge. And so I was being a little victim-y, and I was feeling the challenge. And he says, you have to connect back to the daily behaviors that have led you to the success that you've had.
Right.
And he said, let's figure out what are the daily behaviors that are going to keep you going. Stop worrying about the results. Stop worrying about the next thing that you're going to sell. So for all of you, as you start your business, or if you've had a business and you're trying to get to the next level of your eBay business and selling on eBay, wherever you are on your journey, recognize that your focus on the daily behaviors, your passion for the process is what's going to drive results. If you just stare up at the sky and say, I want to sell $1 million on eBay, that doesn't just happen overnight. You have to go through the daily behaviors that drive that performance. And that conversation was a turning point for me where Jason got me to reconnect to the behaviors, reconnect to the work. And we went on to have one of the best years that we ever had in the insurance and investment practice. The following year, right, because it was about a 6-month period that was challenging. The following year was incredible. We continued to write and speak, and it was incredible because of the max effort we were putting in every day in our work, and that was leading to results. I just stopped worrying about the things I couldn't control.
That really is true, amazing. And I love the way that you keep fighting. You know, you hit these rock areas and you just keep at it. You know what? I ain't quitting here. I'm going to carry on with this. And you bring it back to basics. You bring it back to where it's supposed to be.
Well, it's the reality of the situation. I mean, I go through challenge all the time. You know, every time our name gets put in a hat for a talk, we don't get every single talk. You know, there's challenge, but you got to keep fighting, because hearing a no is your opportunity to get to a yes. If everybody got all yeses in all of their businesses, then people wouldn't be growing businesses.
Absolutely.
And that's actually what myself and Ron at the moment with this podcast show, you know, we're just contacting people and asking if they want to be interviewed. We have the determination of we want to make this succeed. We want to help people out there who are struggling, you know, people who wake up every morning think, oh, I've got to do this again. This isn't working. What am I missing here? And people like yourself, Ben, who offer this advice, it's going to help so many people. It really is. It's beautiful. So, Ben, let's turn the tables now and let's take a look at one particular success story. I'm sure there have been many times along the way that you've questioned if you're actually ever going to make it, like we just previously talked about. We now want you to tell us of one time in great detail that reassured you that your business was actually heading in the right direction.
I'll tell you a really fun story. We throw what are called boot camps, and I've never shared this in all the interviews, TV interviews and radio and podcasts. I've never shared this, so this will be fun. It's a great question. Back in 2009, it was January of 2009. I was getting on an airplane to fly home to St. Louis from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'd just given a talk to a Fortune 500 financial firm, and I get on the plane, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to brainstorm a boot camp. And I actually shared the stage that day with another friend of mine who was a speaker. We're traveling together, and he's like, what in the world is a boot camp? And I said, I don't really know, but I'm going to figure it out on the plane. So February 2009, I start writing down. I said, okay, this will be, 2 days, and, it's tough when you're raising a family. You're on the road to speak, and what would keep me home more? What if people could fly to St. Louis, and what if I could get athletes to speak that I'm connected to, and other incredible individuals, and what if we took them to great dinners? And I kind of built out, and there's this great curriculum, and so I designed a boot camp.
Right.
And 6 months later, and I'm sharing this story for each and every one of you, for that dream that you believe is possible for you, take action is the moral of this story. So here it was, I put it on paper. In June of that year, we were having our first boot camp. We had 10 people that had flown in from around the country. We had a Super Bowl champion tight end from the St. Louis Rams, Roland Williams, spoke, and we had all of these unbelievable speakers, and we had my friend John O'Leary, and we just put this thing together. We had a great venue. We rented out a great restaurant, and we just had a blast, and people loved it. And the feedback from that experience, see, when you make yourself unique, you do something unique, you put your passion into something, people will be attracted to it. And when you do it for the right reasons, not for money, I'm talking about real purpose, legacy, something bigger than you. That's why I wanted to do the boot camps, to connect people to their legacies. We did it. People had a great experience. They gave us referrals, and then we did another one. And then we did another one. And now we have an alumni class since 2009 of over 500 people have come to boot camp. We've done boot camps twice in Las Vegas. We've done them in South Carolina. Next October of 2015, we have one in St. Thomas and the Virgin Islands. The groups are never more than 15 people, but it started with an idea. So for all of you, forget the number of people and the success stories who have come to boot camp. It is a great success story, but I share the story for you on your journey. Because one of the keys is that idea that you have right now. You know the one that I'm talking about. The idea that you have. Take out that pen, put it to paper, write down the idea, and put action behind it. And if you fall short of where you want to be that first time around, we wanted 20 people at the first boot camp. We had 10. If you fall short, you got to have the willingness to keep going and to keep trying. And even though we had 10, I gave them everything that I had. And that's one of the key messages that I would share with you is right now in this interview, I want to give you everything that I've got left in my tank for the day. I want to leave this interview on empty because you have to be where your feet are. So if you take that action step, you take your dream, you put action behind it, and you're focused, and you be where your feet are, you will drive success when you keep going and work those daily behaviors.
Wow, Ben, that's amazing. I tell you, for myself, I mean, you just inspired me, I know, and I know you've inspired a lot of people listening to us right now, because, you know, there's a lot of people in this world that are in a corporate world setting, or maybe you're at a warehouse doing some warehouse work, and you're listening to this, and you're thinking to yourself, man, I know I can do something bigger and better, but I don't think that I can do it. You're absolutely right, Ben. You have to take that action to get up and get out and do it, you know, and you know, that's why we started this podcast, because we know that there are a lot of people out there that are selling on eBay, and they have an eBay store, and they're just not, you know, getting to where they want to be. So we're interviewing people like you, not just to talk about eBay, because if you have an eBay business, it is a business, you know, and so people like you can inspire the business side of those people that are struggling maybe with an eBay store, and get them up and get them out and get them up to the next level on eBay. In this particular instance, that's what we're looking at, you know. So that's awesome, Ben. I really appreciate you sharing that with us.
You know what? I can't forget to say this, because here's what I'm thinking about when you mention this. You know, a lot of times, you know, we just get fixated on, you know, the great success that we see online. We see this individual that, you know, did $1 million in a month on eBay, and all the, you know, and we start to have these doubts. Well, you know what? It could be the same for me in my life. We have a blessing, you know, of having a great speaker fee and lots of blessings. But you know what? We're getting better, and there are speakers out there who are getting, I mean, Bill Clinton gets $1 million a talk. I don't get $1 million for a speech. Well, I'm not giving up on my speaking career because Bill Clinton gets $1 million. So the reality is, it doesn't matter what other people do. It's your belief system. It's the action that you're willing to put behind it, because guess what? Bill Clinton started somewhere, and he wasn't getting $1 million a talk. So don't worry about what other people are doing. Worry about your dreams and your goals, and put the daily work behind it.
All right, so now let's look at a wow moment, Ben. Tell us a story of a time in your journey when you had this wow moment, a moment that was so instrumental to your success that you knew you were on your way to a successful business.
So I'll share this with you, and, you know, these are those moments that are unfair for me, because I don't like just telling a bunch of things about me, but, you know, I feel like you've given me permission, so I'm going to answer the question directly, but I prefer to talk about other people, but I think there'll be a lesson for everybody in the answer. So in 2008, I had the opportunity to share the stage after Super Bowl champion head coach Tony Dungy warmed it up at the Bradley Center in Milwaukee in front of 12,000 people. And, you know, that moment, I knew what I wanted to say. I knew what the message was going to be. I had prepared for the message. I took a deep breath before I went out on stage. We actually had fun with it. I came out to Eye of the Tiger wearing a boxing glove and boxing robe.
Oh, wow.
Took it off and took off the robe, and I had two guys pretend like they were leading me to the ring, and I had a suit on and had fun with it. But in that moment, it was like God just worked through me to connect with each and every individual that was in that audience.
Wow.
And it was an incredible experience where I just knew when I completed that talk, and I'm just going to share the real story with everybody. This is not to impress you. It's to impress upon the point. But when 12,000 people gave a standing ovation, it was humbling, and it was where I was just connected, and I knew this is it. This is what I want to be doing. I want the opportunity to share stories, to empower people to laugh, to empower people to cry, to empower people to connect to a deeper purpose. And that's when I really connected to the purpose that we'd be doing the things that we're currently doing today all over the world. And I know it was that day that really has set the stage for the big vision that we have going forward.
So how do you get, this is the thing that I've often thought about, how do you get past the fear? You know, because at that point in time, you got those 12,000 people, you're Eye of the Tiger, and you're dressed in a suit, but you're obviously really confident. You obviously have really a lot of self-confidence in that position, but how do you get past the fear point of allowing yourself to actually do that in the first place?
Well, you try to focus, for me, I try to focus on exactly how I'm going to start, and I try to connect to that passion, and I literally just give it upstairs to my mom and to whoever you pray to. You know, whether I don't want to be, religious on your show, but whoever you pray to, I give it up to the powers that be for me in my life, and I put it in my mom's hands with her watching down, and I say, just give me the strength to go out and connect. And that's the goal, is to just go out and, whether you make them laugh right off the bat and just connect and get yourself comfortable. And once you get yourself comfortable, you'll be able to make that connection to the audience.
And believe in yourself. Believe that, it's going to be okay. That is really a wow moment there, Ben. So our listeners, they come from all walks of life. We have accountants, housewives, plumbers, fishermen. They're all listening to you right now. Take us back to the beginning. I mean, tell us the vision you had when you started your business, and what steps did you take to know you were on the right path to success? Many of our listeners often second-guess themselves every day, wondering if they're actually doing the right thing or should continue carrying it on, sort of thing.
So in March of 2004, I wrote down a purpose statement. And that purpose statement was to empower and inspire individuals to uncover their passions and desires to seek a greater vision for themselves. That was a purpose statement that I wrote down a month before I started in the insurance and investment business. Saying that purpose statement to myself every single morning for over 10 years. So I'm not saying to anybody that, you have to create a purpose statement and it has to stay the same. Some people, it may change over time. But what that statement has done for me, and what I think connecting to your why, your deep purpose can mean for you, is that it'll connect you to the reason why you're going to put forth your max effort, why you're going to give your energy and your passion to the day that you're given as a gift. So when you connect to your purpose, it fuels and it drives your behavior. So I think for everybody, regardless of my start, I could tell you stories and financials and all those kinds of things. That doesn't matter. What matters is your purpose and the reason why you want to be successful in your business. And typically when the why is about money, it's not big enough. I'm talking about a deep-rooted purpose that's bigger than you, that's connected to making a difference in somebody's life. It's about legacy.
So we know you have multiple businesses that keep you busy every day. I'm sure you've got loads of them. In fact, I wonder how you actually maintain all of that. You do say get some workers. So tell us what is going on in your business today. I mean, what makes you really excited at the moment? What's the latest and greatest from Ben Newman?
So once again, you've given me permission, and so I want to answer in a way that can help your listeners, but share the excitement. We're getting ready to release in August. It's called Your Mental Toughness Playbook. So if everybody were to go to mentaltoughnessplaybook.com, it's an opportunity for everybody to sign up. We're actually, I'll tell you guys before we even announce it, we're going to be giving away the book for free. And the book, with just a little bit of shipping and handling, you will get your free copy of the book. This book has made the difference. I'm just going to put it out there for you guys. The 6 tools, the mental training tools that are in this book has made the difference for individuals in the NFL, the PGA, Fortune 500 companies, people who have felt knocked down that wanted to get back up off that mat of life. There's also going to be a video series that goes with the book. It's going to be an incredible way for people to stay connected and to drive success, because I'm a huge believer that it's not just about your natural talents, it's about coupling those natural talents with the mental toughness side of what it takes to achieve peak performance. So we're tremendously excited about that playbook to come out. It's literally football teams around the country have it right now, NCAA teams, they got advanced copies. Guys who are at NFL training camp, some golfers have copies of it. They're already having great success, and I know it can be a big success for you. So to go to mentaltoughnessplaybook.com, and if people stay connected on Twitter @ContinuedFight, there'll be all kinds of updates on other things we have going on and events where we might be close to you.
Sounds exciting.
It sounds great, Ben. We appreciate that, and we'll make make sure that's in our show notes as well, and we'll tweet it out with when we get done with this interview here. That's amazing stuff. It's now time for the lightning round, but before we do, let's thank our sponsors.
So you're wondering how you can grow your business, yet your website is currently being hosted by one of those website in a box sites, or maybe you don't have a website. Well, if you're really serious about growing your business, then maybe it's time to get serious about who is hosting your website. Bluehost is your answer. At Bluehost, you get complete hosting solutions for as little as $4.95 per month. And while that is inexpensive, it certainly is not cheap. You get unlimited domain hosting, unlimited space, unlimited bandwidth, and much more. Bluehost has the top-rated 24/7 support team of real experts ready to offer real solutions and advice. And if that weren't enough, at Bluehost, you will never sign a contract. Go to www.soyouwantasellonebay.com/Bluehost today and take your business to a whole new level.
And this is where we ask you a series of questions, and it's your chance to answer the questions as you care to, either quickly or you can just elaborate as much as you want to, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, so what was your biggest fear of starting a business?
Probably takes me back to my childhood, and the help I had with coaching was the bigger, better, faster mentality. Really, was I going to be able to harness that and to really break things down to those daily behaviors? Because my naturalness is to, I want to see what is my 2016, right? Like 2 years out from now, what does my speaking calendar look like? Well, I can't control that. So I think that was the fear, that mindset I'd always lived with was going to take over. And it was having that coach and learning those new mental disciplines to say, forget about that. I've just got to have faith and hard work and belief in what I'm doing every day, and the rest will take care of itself.
What is one piece of advice that you can give someone just starting a business that they could benefit from?
Get back up one more time than you've been knocked down, and you'll be tremendously successful.
Awesome.
Wow.
All right, so Ben, if you were given the chance to start all over with the knowledge you have about business and yourself right now, what one thing would you do differently?
Oh, I probably would have started speaking sooner. Probably would have started sharing my story about my mom even sooner. Because for me, one of the things, the real big purpose is to serve 1 billion people. And, I can't trip on anything that's behind me, just like nobody else can trip on anything that's behind them. But, I answer the question with the actual question. And so if we could kind of scratch it all away, I would have started telling my mother's story sooner, because her story has had such an impact on other people's lives that I would have wanted to have touched more people along the journey before 2006, which is really the first time I publicly shared the story.
So when you started your business, how much confidence did you have that you could really actually make money, much less actually make a living out of it?
I knew that I could make money because of the fact that the first time I spoke, it was when I accepted an invitation when they offered me money to speak. So that part was kind of easy, Yeah. So it might not be a fair example because, not everybody starts with a paid invitation to speak. So I was a little bit jaded. But I will tell you that, there were plenty of speaking engagements where I first got started where, they weren't paid speaking engagements. It was more on the opportunity or how could I just give back. And so, it's one of those things where, yes, I knew I could make money, just like for anybody out there. Don't worry about the money. Worry about the work, and the money is going to take care of itself. Sales is a numbers game. If you're running an eBay business, the more people you touch every day on website, email, text messages, the more people that you touch every day, the more people that know about your business, the more you will sell. Sales is a numbers game.
Did you hear that, eBay sellers? He is telling you the truth. So if you have an eBay business or if you're thinking about starting an eBay business, just remember that the social media is one good way of getting your name out there and just making a presence for yourself, because the more people that see you and the more people that know about you, the better opportunities you have to make sales. And that's great information, Ben. We appreciate that. So the next question goes into research, Ben, and I'm not so sure this really how this applies to you, but did you have to do any research for your business to know that it was going to be profitable, or did it just kind of come about step by step and it just became profitable?
I do research all the time. You guys, this has just been fabulous for really exposing all of the challenges and the stuff you have to do to grow a business, no matter what the business is. I'm so happy with the questions that you're asking, because it's really going to help the listeners. So I can share with you that when I first started speaking, somebody would probably hear me, and once again, I'm giving you the real answers, not to impress you, but people would say, wow, that was really great, and that was inspiring, and that was motivational, but there were no actionable takeaways. So now, if you guys were paying attention, I shared with you one of our mental training tools earlier, the power to reframe. And the power to reframe is your ability to focus on solutions rather than problems. And the next time you face a challenge, if you tell yourself to reframe and identify a solution with a daily behavior, you'll continue to drive success. So for me, it was learning that the motivation and the inspiration wasn't enough. If I was really going to touch people and really going to make a difference in their lives, I had to study the craft. I had to be the best speaker that I could be, and I'm still doing that every day. I have tremendous mentors. I had to read great books. I had to figure out the research that would back up the messages. We had to develop these mental training tools. It wasn't just firing people up. It was making a difference in their lives.
I'll tell you what, we've had some real goodies today, and unfortunately that's the end of the lightning round, and unfortunately it's time to say goodbye, and I could chat to you all day, to be honest, Ben. We would like to thank our special guest, Ben Newman, for taking the time to come join us today and share with us his unbelievable experience. I mean, I've taken out this today, and I've got some new Post-it notes, which my whole house is full of them. Take action, power to refrain, then you get yourself a purpose statement. I mean, it's truly amazing, the stuff that you've given today, and I really think it's going to inspire people who think they're at that point of quitting, to, do you know what, I'm going to keep doing this. It's not all about the money, you know, and it's just about motivation, and you can do it, is from what I've picked up tonight.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. Listen, I can tell you right now, I just really believe that there's at least a couple listeners out there right now that are going to their spouse and saying, hey, listen, you know what? I've got new motivation now, and I got new drive. We're going to make this happen, honey, and it's going to be good because, you know, there's so many people in this day and age, man, where there's unemployment, the levels that it is right now, and people are trying to start their businesses, and really, you know, starting an eBay business is probably the cheapest way to get a business started that you'll ever find, right? And, you know, if you had an e-commerce site, let's just say you were selling something on a website, you know, you have to find traffic to that website. So eBay gives you the free traffic. So if you're thinking about starting a business right now and you're thinking about maybe an eBay business, it doesn't hurt to start. And just get out there and get it done because, you know, as Ben says, man, you just got to get up there and get it done because that's how it's going to get done, right? So we really appreciate your time, Ben. It's been such a joy for us to talk to you and to learn more about you.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity to be with both of you and with all of your listeners, and for everybody out there. You know, continue to battle through that adversity. Pick yourself up. Have people there to pick you up and continue to go do great things as you write the story of your legacy. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Your legacy. I love that. That's brilliant. Well, we'll post all the notes from today's interview on our show notes page, which can be found at www.soyouwantasellonebay.com/show notes. But before you go, Ben, please tell our listeners who are driving the car or jogging in the park, how can they find you? What's the best way that they can contact you? Facebook, email, Twitter?
Yeah, come find us on Facebook. It's Ben Newman, so just my name. You know, website is bennewman.net, and Twitter and Instagram is @ContinuedFight. So come follow. We love having people part of the Continued Fight family, and look forward to staying connected with all of you.
Thanks for all the information, Ben. We wish you continued success. From everyone here at So You Want to Sell on eBay, I'm Ali Young.
And I'm Ron LeBeau.
If you are an online merchant, chances are you've heard of Terapeak. Terapeak helps online merchants like you by providing in-depth analytics to help you pull back the curtain on your competitors' behavior, pricing techniques and strategies, supply and demand, category and product trends, and customer purchase patterns. Sound intense? It is. Terapeak is the leader in e-commerce market analysis, dedicated to helping online merchants grow their business and become more profitable. How cool would it be if you could know the new and emerging opportunities? Terapeak delivers market intelligence that is both meaningful and actionable. Terapeak analyzes over 2.4 billion transactions per year. How many of those will be yours next year? After all, if your competitors see the value in Terapeak, shouldn't you? Go to www.soyouwantasellonebay.com/Terapeak to sign up today.
Well, that's a wrap to another awesome show. Don't forget to subscribe to us on iTunes at soyouwantasellonebay.com/iTunes. Follow us on Twitter at Your eBay Podcast and Facebook at So You Want to Sell on eBay. And we can always be found at www.soyouwantasellonebay.com. eBay.com.